My name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That is fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the ChannelMom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Brought to you by Therapon Skin Health, helping moms have healthy, youthful-looking skin for 20 years. Okay, if you had one wish that could come true for this upcoming school year, what would it be? What are you dreading about the approaching school year, or what are you hoping will be better than it was last year? We've got the mother-daughter dynamo duo who give you straight advice, stuff other people are afraid to say. That's one reason I love them. Linda Williams was a longtime elementary teacher, and her daughter Ann now homeschools. We're going to take Linda first today. They are our Channel Mom, real moms with real answers. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Thank you, Jenny. Good to be with you.
Well, you've got some straight talk for moms and for dads today about how to remedy the things that they dread about the school year, where there's no peace, where they're up basically having night school with their kids every night, where people aren't getting to bed when they need to, where everything's crazy in the morning because things haven't been prepared the night before. You have some principles that you're going to share with people. Tell people about the first things first idea.
Okay. I think you have to keep remembering that when your children get home from a school day, they are pretty worn out. They've had a noisy day of school. They've had a noisy bus ride home, perhaps. The only problem is you're also probably worn out, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or out working. Mm-hmm. And so everybody is tired. So one of the first things you want to do is get food into that kid.
Yeah.
Something healthy. Have a snack ready to go if you pick them up in the car or at daycare, and just get that in there. And try to eliminate the interrogation about how was your day and finding out everything that you would like to know. Some children will share that automatically. Other children have got to have a space. So know your kid and try to, address each child for who they are. So maybe different conversation about your day would be more appropriate, or maybe even a little silence. They might even want to keep the radio off because, again, this noise factor. And when you get home, you might want to make sure that TV just isn't running 24/7.
Yeah.
Because we want to keep the noise factor down.
Well, that's fascinating because I think just by habit, both my husband and I, as soon as we see the kids after they get back from school, automatically we go to that, well, how was your day? My husband, because he's in the education business, always says, what did you learn? Tell me one thing you learned today at school. And I get why he's doing that, and we're sort of debriefing, so to speak. But you're saying there needs to be a space between the time they leave school and the time we talk about that with them?
I think that works better. The kids that don't need that space will initiate the conversation on their own. The ones that do, supper time was a great time for our family to kind of just casually discuss the school issues and to try to bring them out on, what was going on.
Okay, and now this no background TV thing. I agree with it. In fact, we shut our TV off every summer. We cancel with DirecTV temporarily. But I think it's really hard for a lot of families because it's become such a habit. Can you throw anything out there that will prove to them that they really need to shut those things off, and the screens and the iPods and all of it?
When I was thinking about doing this segment with you, it occurred to me that I often hear parents say, but my kid has great focus. They can sit in front of a TV for hours. They can sit in front of a video game. They can play on a computer for hours. And I'm telling you, that's not focus at all. That's interaction. The only problem is the technical thing is doing the interaction. Your kid isn't. You've got to teach your child to be able to interact, and that's totally different. So you just really need to limit the tech stuff, the TV, the videos, all you can. Maybe save them for weekends, a short time on a school day. But those kids, when they have a break, it needs to be non-tech stuff. They need to know how to entertain themselves, how to just sit quietly, or how to crawl over the room and run around the house. Some of them will be more active than others, but they're the ones that should be the interactive piece in that, not what they're playing with.
Yeah, they need to learn how to communicate in the world. And you have so many principles. I want to get to them. So I will let you know when we're nearing the end because I want to make sure we get to the preparation for the next day, because I think that's a huge stressor for a lot of moms, that morning where we think, oh my gosh, we should have done these 10 things last night and we didn't do it. So we need to make sure we get to that. But why don't you throw out a few nuts and bolts in terms of getting to homework and the way in which you have them do homework?
Okay, that's another one where you need to know your kid. Does your kid want to come in the door? And by the way, there should be a place for everything, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But does your kid want to come in the door and sit down and do homework? Some children do. They just want to get it over with. Usually those are the kids that can rip through it pretty fast. Other kids are going to have a break. Setting timers is a great way to just keep track of how long that break is. And then you need to bring them back and have a place for them to go. And boy, if it could be a cleared off place, if you can somehow keep that table cleared off, and I know how hard that is raising a family, or you have a little desk in an area, or maybe your kid likes to work on the floor in a space, but try to keep it pretty open. Break up his working segments into chunks. If you have a child that has difficulty for a long time, again, set a timer for 10 minutes. Let's see how much he can get done during that time. Then maybe some physical jumping jacks, running around the house once, stretching exercises, whatever you can come up with, especially in times of frustration.
Oh, you just have him just exercise.
It's getting difficult.
Yeah, just have him exercise. Well, my husband is a big fan of that. You just need to get up. Even if you're working in a job and you're an adult, he says you need to get out of that chair and walk around.
Right.
Because that stimulates your brain in a new way again. Okay, and anything else? What about getting over-involved in helping your kids, learning to have them do what they can do themselves?
Right, and I think that just comes from parents really, really caring about their children. But if you truly care about them, then you know that you've got to teach them to be independent, and it starts early on. The homework should be, at least in part, things that the kid already knows. He's practicing it again, so you're there to give the support for the directional part. But instead of you going through the papers and and explaining everything to your child, how about letting your child explain the homework to you? And then you can just say, okay, how about, do you think you can do the next 5 problems? I'm going to step away. I'll be over here, whatever. Call me when you're ready for the next 5, or call me when you finish this, and we'll go on to the next one. And you want to constantly move away from the child, because your goal as a parent is to work yourself out of a job. And that's a happy day when that happens and they come home and they handle the homework all on their own. Actually, that's what you want to start with, even when they're little.
Yeah. We only have about 5 minutes left, so I want to make sure that you get the most important things in. You talk about advocating for your child. You talk about preparing for the next day and painless support for your child. Which one of those you want to take on next for the moms?
Let's do the advocating, because I just know how frustrated parents get. Educators will tell you 15 minutes per grade level. So a first grader, 15 minutes of homework, second grader, 30 minutes, so on. And I know that real life disproves that. I've been in too many homes where the children are just burdened down with homework. Mm-hmm. Some of it is because they're just messing around and not staying focused and wanting you to do everything for them and support them. And, if they can do it themselves, let them do it themselves. But if your child has some glitches, which is what I always call them, and some of these homework issues are difficult, and you are spending 3-4 hours with very young children, you cannot. You have to go to bat for them. Mm-hmm. You go make an appointment. Don't go in confrontationally to the teacher. Go in with a list of everything you've already put into place on how you're trying to address this, and then ask the teacher for some help. For instance, is the assignment about handwriting, or is it about knowledge? Can you write down what your child says? And it does need to be your child's words. Mm-hmm. But can you be the writer for half the paper, 3/4 of the paper? Can your child do a shorter assignment? Does he really have to do 20 problems? Could he do 10? Something like that might be able to be put into place. And reading assignments, I know that often children are supposed to read for a half an hour a night, an hour a night. Hey, why don't you sit with them? You read a page or two, let them read a page or part of a page, and keep them going. Talk about what they're reading to keep them interested so that they're learning. and just make this as painless as you possibly can.
I was just talking to a girlfriend of mine this morning who said, I'm dreading the school year and how schedules are ridiculous and we're all running 10 different ways. Talk about how parents can prepare for the next day with their kids so they can have a smooth and peaceful school year.
Here's the good news. Parents can prepare the kids to prepare themselves.
Yes.
You need to take some of the burden off of you as a parent. And it's important that your child take the responsibility. So how about backpacks packed up when homework is done, or even before it completely gets done? Have a space near the front doors, whatever door you're exiting. That's where we always had ours put, and ready to go. School clothes can be picked out at bedtime and laid out, and then no changing of mind allowed. Breakfast table can be set by your child. Cereal boxes can be put there, bowls and spoons. Everything can be ready so that when they come to the breakfast table, they're good to go. The child, depending on their age and really pretty young, can make their own lunch, or at least part of it, and put it in their lunchbox and set it in the fridge, or just, buy the backpack and you put the refrigerated items in the morning.
Yeah.
So the more you can prepare and plan, the easier your morning's going to go. And I think if your child gets resistant to any of these little things, Anne's going to help out with that on the next segment.
Yeah, we're going to get to your daughter, Anne, in the next segment, which is great because she's got some great ideas. I have a funny little thing to tell you. I do make my kids make their lunch. It's one of their chores. And my daughter's lunch is far more extravagant than my son's lunch because she doesn't mind spending the time. He will literally grab whatever's available. Even if it's one grape for his fruit, that's what he'll grab because it's easy. It is funny how they prepare very differently. We do have a couple minutes left, Linda, so can you talk about the Painless support for your children so you can have a little fun during the school year and do things with them and enjoy them? And I know parents are working a lot, so they think I can't possibly, sit down and do stuff with my kids at the end of the day. I have to just make them do their homework. What's Painless support?
Well, what I love about that is when you support your child, it's not always sitting and doing homework with them. It can be on the go in the car. You can play all kinds of games in the car, whether it's just even naming things that are red, categorizing things that are cold for the young children, or having them be watching for words or letters, and I think a lot of people know some of those car games. Instead of just turning a DVD on, again, just try to stay away from that. You can choose one book for the family. If you're just burdened down by reading with every single child every single day, why don't you just, if it works for your schedule, take a chapter book that is appealing to most of the children, and you may have a wide spread, but even the little ones can sit. And allow your kids to play on the floor while you're reading. Play Legos, play with blocks, play with little cars. Some children actually need movement in order to really focus in well, and they can be rolling around on the floor as long as they're quiet and still listening to books. Another thing that I just love, and when children are learning all kinds of things, we teach them. We never teach them how to process information because that's something we do inside our head. So what I might say was, oh, gee, you know what? I'm just really hungry, but I know I'm not going to eat cookies because cookies are not a really healthful snack for me. So I'm going to choose grapes. And just kind of talk to yourself. Problem solve. Anything you have a problem with, problem solve it auditorily so your kids can hear how that all works.
Talk out loud to yourself so they can see how you process your own information. And Linda, here's what I love about you. You are preparing children to grow up and get in the world and be able to solve their own problems, be able to do their own activities, be able to plan their own schedules, be able to cook for themselves, pick up after themselves. You're preparing adults, and I know that's what you're all about. So thank you, Linda, so much for being on the Channel Mom Show today and being our real mom with real answers.
Thank you, Jenny.